Hey guys, it's Eddie, and today I am back with my conclusion on my reviews focusing on the Conjuring series. Now I know there's only 2 movies, but we'll call it a series anyway, just for the hell of it. So since my last video focused on James Wan's The Conjuring, you can all guess that today's review will be focusing on its sequel, The Conjuring 2, again directed by James Wan. So again, this film features fantastic acting by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, but instead in this movie we are sort of removed from the setting of America, and instead we enter the realm of 1970s London, England, and we focus on the Warrens' case or investigation of the Enfield haunting. Now, I think it was really smart sticking with the Warrens. I mean, we kind of knew that was going to happen anyway, but I just thought I would say that I think because they allow you to form ties to the movie and more of an emotional bond because they are consistent characters, I think that was a really smart move. And the fact that we have, such great consistent performances from Wilson and Farmiga, it's just, it's great to see those characters return again. And, it kind of makes you more sort of excited to see this film. It did with me anyway. It sort of endears you to the movie more, as it did with the first. I think to see familiar faces was really nice in this movie, and it kind of, again made you want to sort of see these guys through, make sure that they, defeated whatever paranormal entity, struck up chaos again, and, it sort of made you sort of really want to support them, despite the fact that they are, in a movie, part of a movie. But I think the main attraction of this film, and probably the scariest element of this film, is actually the imagery of the nun, as she is known, or Valak, by her demon name. I'm pretty sure she was sort of plastered all over the internet before this movie was, widely released, and I think she, as an image alone, is horrifying, and she almost burns into one's brain. Her image, her facial features, that sort of dark-lipped, dark-eyed, hollow face with the pale, she's horrible. And I think particularly when we see Miss Valak at her worst is the scene which takes place in Ed's office, Ed Warren's office, involving the painting. He does a painting of her, and it bears a striking resemblance. And poor Lorraine, who goes into his office because, she's not a fan of the painting. I wouldn't be either. She goes inside his office, and all of a sudden an eerie feeling comes across the scene, and, the painting starts to appear to be more lifelike than, we would probably want. And it's a very, very tense scene. I think it was so clever to include that scene in the middle of the film because, although the initial stories with the Warrens being in America and, all the situation with the Enfield haunting going on in England before they eventually became tied together, I thought these two sort of side-along stories were fantastic, and this scene just added such a raised amount of tension in the film that was so cleverly built by James Wan. His sort of pan around direction of the room, very slow, very steady, but building the tension all the time, and it was just absolutely terrifying. I do love the nod to the Amityville case at the beginning of the film. We sort of see Ed and Lorraine investigating that case, I also like the fact that they didn't go with that as a choice for the plot of this movie. I thought it was tastefully sort of side plotted, as was the Annabelle sort of stint at the beginning of the first movie. These cases are touched on, but we're exploring cases in areas that haven't been overly churned out in films before. So I thought that was a really smart and clever nod, and one which horror film and fanatics will highly appreciate, I'm sure. I thought it was brilliant. One sort of standout I thought in the film was Madison Wolfe playing Janet, who is the little girl from England that is possessed and forms sort of the basis of the Enfield case that Lorraine and Ed are investigating in the film. I thought her acting was astounding for such a young girl, highly consistent, and to be playing a young girl that is, you know, possessed by a demon and is experiencing some pretty heavy-going paranormal situations. I thought she was absolutely fantastic. And she sort of helped lift the film, I think. And also, her personality, you know, when she wasn't possessed, she played her very sort of, you know, your average 11-year-old girl, and it made you feel incredibly sorry for her, because there was a lot of strife going on. People didn't believe the family. But I liked that aspect of this film, the fact that it was sort of some ambiguity about whether the case was faked or not. The fact that there was so much discussion as a topic in the movie from the actors and the characters, I thought helped provoke audience thought. Like, this is just a movie, but these cases are recorded, and, you know, this is based on apparently true events. So, you know, I think that sort of discussion between the characters, you know, helped you form an opinion yourself on, you know, what was going on in this movie, and it sort of made you really think, which I like a movie to do. I like a movie that provokes me to think about things and think about the topics that are raised in it. I think the presence of Valak, the demon, as I've said, was really scary, but also the sort of puppet entity, Billy Wilkins, who is kind of he's sort of the spirit of an old man, I thought was really scary. And I liked the fact that it was sort of different to what we've seen before. You know, I don't think there are many films which focus on, you know, the spirit of an old man possessing a young girl. It's quite a weird one, and it was different. I liked it. It was very chilling, and it created some formidable jump scares. I think the one thing about this film is that it is relentless. From beginning to end, I would say it doesn't let up. The scares come straight away. You get a couple of breaks, but really it is just non-stop scares. So, you know, I would prepare yourself before watching this film, probably more than the first one, because it's not as sort of insidious as the first. It doesn't build up as much. It's kind of just straight away things are happening, jump scares are happening, so you have to sort of prepare yourself for this movie a little more. The one thing I would say that doesn't make this film as good in my eyes as the first is the presence of a scene involving the Crooked Man, which is kind of this nursery rhyme in this sort of little toy box zoetrope thing that, you know, helps the entity to sort of haunt the family, you know, and is sort of eventually added to Ed and Lorraine's, you know, cavalcade of, you know, haunted items that we know very well that they possess and keep safe. And there was a scene where we sort of saw a dog turn into the Crooked Man, which was sort of a silhouette that we'd seen from this little box thing. And it kind of just looked a little bit tacky to me. Like, it wasn't necessary as a part of the film in order to scare us. Like, the presence of Billy and Valak scared us enough without this, like, weird Crooked Man imagery thing. I just thought it was a little bit unnecessary, and it just gave off a little bit of a cheesy feel that I didn't really want when watching it. Nevertheless, I loved the 70s soundtrack that transported us right back to London, you know, with the likes of the Bee Gees playing. I thought that was great. And I also love the fact that it took place in London, because it was such a dramatic geographical change from the first film. It sort of made a greater, you know, venture for variety in this movie. So it didn't make you feel like you were watching the same film as the first because it was a sequel. It took you to different places, it introduced new ideas, and I think it was a lot more full on than the first. Now, I forgot to mention in my earlier video that I'd probably give The Conjuring, the first one, probably 4.5 stars out of 5 because it's so good. For this one, I'd probably give it a 4, just because I think I enjoy the first film slightly more, and I think it's slightly scarier on a creepier scale than, you know, a sort of more obvious shouty scale than, which is what I feel like the second one is, but that doesn't make it any less entertaining. I think it's a fantastic film to watch. If you love the first one, you should definitely watch the sequel if you haven't already. It definitely made me a little bit scared and creeped out, you know, walking around at night after I'd seen the film, which is probably a little bit ridiculous, but there we go. But I enjoyed it, and if you guys enjoyed it too, just let me know. But that is my verdict on The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2. I hope you guys enjoyed these videos, and if you want a suggestion of a movie for me to review, leave a comment below or message me on my Tumblr, and I hope to see you guys in the next couple of videos. Bye!